Okay, sorry for that delay. I hope everybody is doing well, um, and ready for Halloween. I was going to do the call on Halloween candy in the house, but I think I did a similar call like Labor Day, how to handle Labor Day weekend. So I changed my mind, but I hope everybody has a great strategy in place for setting up their Halloween candy in the house situation. And we can answer all of those questions if you want to post them to the app if you'd like to. Um, but hope your little ones are excited. Hope you guys are in costume and ready to go. But today, rather, we're going to talk about wearables. I feel like this is something that comes up with relative frequency. Um, just for me personally, and then also among my clients, in like social groups when somebody happens to see something like this. So it's one of those like, people are curious and some people are very reliant on their wearables. Other people are kind of anti-wearable. I personally fall somewhere in the middle. I think it's like many things, one of those things that can be used as a really interesting tool, um, but maybe with some caveats there, and remembering the power and importance of your feeling and your experience. There are some flaws. There are really decent flaws in the wearables. So anyways, we will dive into that. I don't go into the details in terms of like different types of wearables. There's a lot out there. There are, as pictured, Apple Watches. That's probably most common, I would say. But then you have Garmin's, you have Fitbits, you have Whoops, you have Aura rings. There's all sorts of stuff out there now. Even like some people like beds, some people's like have smart beds and mattress toppers, and like you're getting information from everywhere. So kind of knowing what to do with that, how to use it, and how to use it in a way that doesn't make you crazy, doesn't make you go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, is going to be an important part of it as well. Um, so again, their watches, rings, any trackers, they're used to measure all sorts of things: sleep, stress, um, calories burned. Some of them will give you sort of like target activity, calories burned. Some of them will give you recovery scores. Some of them will give you sleep scores. All of which can be really helpful for decision making, so long as you take it with a good, solid grain of salt. Um, so they can absolutely help build consistency. So like when your phone or watch or ring or wearable is like prompting you to go to bed, or prompting you to, hey, get up and like nudge. They give you like, hey, go for a walk. You haven't moved in a while. Or has you shoot for certain step targets. Like those can be great. Those are great little nudges that can be really used for your overall health and physique goals. Again, with a grain of salt, a nudge to get up and walk when you're, dealing with the stomach flu in your bed or super, super sick is not helpful and um, you know, should in most cases likely be ignored. So you sort of have to, again, take everything with a grain of salt. This is a really poignant example that I see and hear a lot, definitely in terms of sleep scores. And that's one that, like, I think can be interesting, valid information, but like really also maybe even first pause and think about how you feel. And oftentimes you would prioritize your experience of your sleep and your reflection on your sleep probably above your wearable. But anyways, for example, have you ever woken up feeling rested and strong and like, oh, I slept like a champ last night, like, woo, like I was in bed early, I felt like I got a great long sleep. Um, and then you go and you open your ring or your watch or whatever, you open your phone and it was like, no, you didn't sleep that well. You had like 40 minutes in deep sleep and not even an hour in REM sleep, and you were not efficient, you were restless all night, and you're like, oh man, like, and it's totally deflating. And then you start to wonder, should I work out? Should I go on my walk? Should I do this? Should I do that? Um, so it can really get in your head. Same thing with the activity side of things. And I think actually the activity side of things is where there's more discrepancy in the data. Well, it depends. It depends on the wearable, quite frankly. Um, so you feel like you had a really great workout, you crushed the workout, you feel super strong, empowered in the workout. Um, and then you go and open your phone, and it was sort of like your heart rate didn't get high, like you didn't, your training effect was low, or whatever it judges you or scores your workout on. You're like, oh man, like I thought I had a great workout right there. I think those two examples are exactly when your experience probably matters more often than not. 9 out of 10 times, your experience is going to matter more than what your ring or watch is spitting out to you. Um, so this whole conversation is kind of about when the numbers start to override your intuition, it's time to pause and reassess. Um, so the science behind the numbers. So what all of your wearables are measuring, they're all going to measure different kinds of things. They're all built on algorithms, and the algorithms will vary with alarmingly high um, variability. So like there are studies on this. You can read papers on like comparing a Whoop to an Apple Watch to an Oura Ring, and like the step count they spit out is statistically significantly different. The calories burned are statistically significantly different. Like it's shocking how different the algorithms spit out the numbers are. Even anecdotally, like I definitely have clients who have an Oura Ring and an Apple Watch, or an Oura Ring and a Whoop, or whatever, and they get very in the weeds, and like it gets in their head a little bit, like my Oura Ring said this and Apple Health said this and my Whoop said this. The algorithms are different. And another one that we see a lot is like projecting calories burned. That's one that can be very, very, very misleading in terms of your calorie burn. So, like when you fixate on like my watch says I'm burning this many calories, and like if I'm setting a nutrition target for you based on your history and based on your goals, and then your wearable is telling you I burned this many calories, you can sort of start to question the process, or be confused about the process. Please ask your coach when that's the case. Um, but just knowing that that number, the calorie burn number that it spits out to you, is far more inaccurate than it is accurate most of the time, is probably something just to put in your pocket. All of us coaches do, in like, we consider your movement and activity and history and where you want to go into the calorie targets that we set for you. And again, your coach can go into great detail about that, but the inaccuracy of the data is I don't want to use the word significant, but is there. So again, a tool in the toolkit, but not to be, taken to the grave. Also, certain wearables do better at different things. For example, I don't know if this is the most recent research, but the last paper I read was sort of highlighting if sleep is your area of interest and you really want to optimize sleep and learn a lot about your sleep, Oura Ring tends to be a little bit better in terms of data tracking and output in terms of sleep data, if that's your primary interest. If your primary interest is your workouts and your activity, again, last I read, I don't know if this is the current literature, but last I read, Whoop tends to be like better at activity than Oura Ring, for example. So you can kind of go down deep down that rabbit hole, but it does matter which is your priority and what you care more about. Do you care more about tracking your workouts? Do you care more about tracking your sleep? Do you care more about tracking your steps? If you do care more about tracking your steps, save some money and just get a pedometer, but that's my opinion. Anyways, in terms of the data, common things that they track would be heart rate and heart rate variability. Some of them track your heart rate all day long. Some of them do like every 5 or 10 minutes. It kind of does a heart rate read. Heart rate and heart rate variability are going to be different. Your HRV is going to measure your nervous system's balance, or kind of like your ability to recover from stressors. So higher HRV is something you might want to strive for. Versus a lower HRV, you want more heart rate variability rather than less. It's your body's ability to recover from stressors, your resiliency. However, everybody is like your baseline matters. So your wearable should track you for, I think, generally like 2-ish weeks before it starts telling you your HRV is high, like, oh, you're low today, freak out about it. No, like we need at least 2 weeks to measure your baseline, or the wearable needs at least 2 weeks to measure your baseline to figure out what's normal for you. Um, so to some degree, like looking up what's normal HRV for a woman in her 40s, again, take all of that with a grain of salt. It's trends. Trends are what we really want to pay attention to. So the number itself doesn't matter. I'm just going to spit out 75. Say you're hanging out around 75 on HRV, and then you drop to like the 30s for a couple of days. Okay, well, if you're always at 75 and you drop to the 30s for a couple of days, then you might want to, like, am I sleeping well? Am I super stressed? Have I been traveling? Am I recovering well? Like, then, like, look at what's going on in your life, and if that tracks. Um, but your 75 is not going to be my 75. Like 75 for you might be low, or 75 for me might be high. So again, it's not like getting with your girl group and comparing, like, what's your HRV? That doesn't matter. Your HRV is going to be different than her HRV, and that's going to be across the board on all of the data that we're tracking. Um, Again, HRV can be impacted by things like hormones, illness, alcohol, sleep, fatigue, stress. So you can notice changes. Again, focus less on the number and more on the trend. Sleep stages, most devices estimate some REM sleep time, some deep sleep time, some light sleep. Some of them track how much you're tossing and turning in terms of restlessness. Some of them are tracking your heart rate through the night. Um, but research shows it can be off by 30 to 40%. So again, trends, not nightly judgments, not waking up and deciding you feel like poo just because your watch told you probably slept like poo. Because maybe you didn't. It also tracks calories burned and steps. These factors can be based on this. So this is the calories burned is one that can be quite inaccurate because it doesn't know your body composition. It doesn't know your lean tissue to fat tissue. There's a lot that it doesn't know about you, but it does usually take in height, weight. Sometimes it'll take movement in. Some of them are measuring temperature, but they can vary widely. Calories are often inaccurate. Steps and active minutes tend to be more consistent. Again, the algorithms are different, particularly in steps. If any of you have worn a ring at the same time as like carrying your phone, or something that does track more like a pedometer, generally the Aura ring is gonna count way more steps um, than your pedometer or your phone or your watch. I think Aura's gotten a little bit better in that regard, but I find that it's still high. Um, and then recovery scores and readiness. So these are going to be things that, like, look at how you slept, look at your HRV, maybe look at your HRV balance, which will be 2 weeks of HRV data, and try to give you a picture of how ready you might be for the next day, how ready you are for a really active day, how resilient you might be to a high stress day. Um, Again, it can be helpful context, but not a final verdict. And then again, also, like, your wearables don't know why your metrics are changing or why your trends are going up and down. So that's where you are sort of, you can extrapolate, like, you can use this as a tool to be like, oh yeah, like oh, my HRV is lower, or my readiness score is lower, I've been traveling for the last 3 weeks, or I've been at night games with my kids for 2 months straight. Whatever it is, you can start to sort of see, like, you can put the puzzle pieces together as to, like, oh, I'm feeling a little run down. I don't feel like I'm recovering from my workouts quite as well. Oh, my HRV has dropped. Oh, I've been at night games for 3 months straight. Like, you can sort of start to find these patterns and correlations in your life. And then it's up to you. Can you make changes? Can you make adjustments? Can you take turns with your husband so you're not at every night game? Can switch carpool situations so you're not at every night? Like, what are you going to do with this data is up for you. So you sort of puzzle piece it together and then decide how you're going to make adjustments if you can. So my top 5 tips for making the wearable work. How you feel matters more than what your tracker says. So that's what we've talked about. If you woke up feeling energized, focused, ready to tackle the day, trust that, prioritize that over what your watch spits out at you. Even if your wearable says, like, meh, you didn't do great last night, how you feel when you wake up should take precedence. Particularly if you wake up feeling refreshed and feeling good, like, why not trust the positive one over the negative one? Like, go for the one, like, if you feel great, run with that feeling great feeling. Maybe even skip looking at your phone and just run with the feeling great feeling. This is one that I talked about already. Looking for trends, not daily grades. I think the trends can be really interesting. Like, personally, like, I never ever ever wore a wearable for a very long time, and I just put this Oura ring on my finger last December. I got it as a gift. I didn't even do it for myself. Now I've been wearing it for 9 months. It's cool. Like, I like I like sort of like seeing where I fall. I like taking a look at my step count. I like taking a look at my sleep. I kind of like, I like knowing or checking how good it is at, like, um I know I'm sick. I'm sick. I'm super sick. Did my ring give me minor or major signs? Like, did it, like, I'm almost testing my ring. Like, I'm using my feeling as the trump card and seeing, like, haha, did my ring figure it out? So anyways, I think um it's kind of cool to see the data and follow the trends, but again, not a deal breaker. So watching those trends can be something that you make some decisions based on. Use your wearable to spot patterns over time, not judge isolated moments. So, things can be trending down. You might want to take inventory of what's going on in your life. If things are trending up, again, take inventory. So if things are trending down, take inventory of what's happening in your life and where can you make adjustments to sort of give yourself more you time or more recovery or more sleep. If things are trending up, sweet. What's going on in your life? How do we keep this ball rolling? Um, I do encourage regular wearable breaks, just to remind yourself that you can trust how you feel and trust your body. So every few months, or at least once a year, take a weekend or a whole week off from tracking, to learn how to trust your body again. Tune into your real cues. Listen to your hunger, listen to your energy, listen to your mood, listen to your own soreness, listen to how you feel in the gym. It'll be really reassuring, I think, to know that, like, you can pay attention to those cues and you will be okay. You don't need a watch to tell you how to sort of behave over the course of the day. This is a big one related to what we've talked about. Don't let the numbers steal your joy. If a workout left you feeling proud and powerful, keep that win. Again, more often than not, I would say, like, why not stick with the positive feeling rather than let yourself get knocked down by technology? Don't let a low training effect score ruin your, like, really empowered moment. The most important data point is in movement is how it makes you feel. So I think that keep that close to the chest. And then remember, your wearable works for you, not the other way around. That's what I was sort of talking about with, like, I almost check on my ring to be like, how good is my ring? Because I prioritize how I feel first, and I encourage you all to do the same. These are tools to support you, not lead you. Um, and make sure that you are the final decision maker on how you choose to live your day. So That is mostly it, I think, in terms of wearables. Did anybody have any extra thoughts or experiences that they wanted to share from their wearable past or journey?
I think it's interesting, like a couple of things. First of all, in the morning, like in the morning rush, and when that's over, I can have on my Whoop like, oh, activity detected, like a workout. I'm like, no, that was just
Morning.
stress. Yeah. So, and that was I've had Whoop for years, but that was one of the most interesting things for me to see or to realize. And it goes kind of back to something we have said time and time again, that stress is stress. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Like if your heart rate races, it can be from emotional stress, it can be from a workout, it can be from running from A to B, or whatever. So, or just talking and being very, or even cheering. I've been cheering on CrossFit, uh, um, yeah, CrossFit when people are like, "Oh my God, this seems to," yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like one of the times I've had the highest scores of like a workout score.
That's
So,
so funny. That's one of my biggest surprises and takeaways when I first started wearing this. I am an introvert through and through. I'm an introvert that um you know, I'm an introvert that can turn on when, I can be the center of attention. Like I was a CrossFit coach. I can be the center of attention when
mm,
needed, when the time is right, but I recharge alone. I'm very much an introvert. Every time I'm like dinner with the girls, which I love dinner with the girls. I freaking love dinner with the girls. I'm so excited. Or like any time that's like any social gathering. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I'm pumped for it. But holy moly, I get home and my ring is like, what did you do? I'm at like stress
yeah,
level here.
Like worse than an intense workout.
Yeah.
yeah.
Body's like,
So
we need
like,
a rest day.
Yeah.
I
but I
feel that.
also like,
Noticed that too with my wearable. That was one of the takeaways. I've always, I like obviously from like what the research says, what science says, and what what we talk about regularly with clients. We know stress is stress, and our body
mhm,
doesn't know the difference. But to like actually see that on our watches, we had a
yeah.
ski day, which it was not very stressful in terms of like the physicality. Um, but it was very stressful in terms of like the kids' needs that day. And I finished skiing and it was like, you have had like high stress. And that surprised me so much too. Like just sometimes even like the emotional toll of mothering
Yeah,
it can be very high. And,
Yeah.
totally.
and factoring that in, like, yeah, if you're feeling really run down, um, your mental stress and emotional stress is a big part of overall our body. And also I've experienced that too. Like, maybe training hasn't been really intense for me, but the older I get too, I think I'm more sensitive to this as I get nearer and nearer to perimenopause. This is not a wearable thing, but I'm noticing too, like if I have a really high stress month with a
Mm,
lot on my plate or worries or anything going on in that regard, I will notice my period symptoms are worse. And
Yeah,
also I'm starting to see like maybe a day or two or three
slightly longer.
delay in my
Yeah,
period starting. And that never happened in my 20s. I could handle so much more stress. So even noticing that as we get closer to perimenopause, like, oh, I don't know if the mental load is heavier for us now. Like we just have a lot more on our plate so that when it's all a little higher, our body is more sensitive to that. But I think as hormones are declining, like we're just more sensitive. We've seen that too. And with what research says, we're more sensitive to stress and more
yeah,
sensitive to cortisol. So our hormones respond to that. And so a wearable could be a good way to get more insight on that without like you said, like using it with a grain of salt is part of the equation. Also paying
yeah.
attention, like let that help you pay attention to your own, like, oh yeah, today was stressful.
yeah,
I think some of us are really high perceived stress and some of us are very low perceived stress. And I think
Mm,
most of the women we work with are pretty high achieving, and I think they're on the low perceived stress side of things. So we can they're doing a lot and they can handle a lot and they don't always know when their bodies are under a lot of stress.
Yeah, and I think that's 100% right. And honoring that, like when you do have a surprising high stress moment, you're like, I like it was a ski day. I was barely moving, but like, oh, I was like 10 out of 10 on parenting. Or
Yeah,
or like a super social night or what like whatever it is. When you see like honor those too. Like does it mean you skip
absolutely.
your workout the next day? No, maybe not, but or maybe but like try to get in bed an hour earlier or try to give yourself an hour extra the next morning, something like that.
You're allowing it to help you understand how you're responding and feeling rather than dictating how you're feeling,
Yeah.
right? Like
Totally.
if you go off of your
Sure.
introvert example, like, and you feel absolutely exhausted the next day, like
Yeah.
that can just help give you insights like, oh, that's right. That took a lot out of me, and now I need to recover. So again, it's more like a supplement rather than something that's hard and tra fast and true.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe even like switching, like maybe if you had a sprint interval workout planned for the next day, maybe you would go for like an upper body instead. Like maybe not doing your workout, but maybe moving things around in your week based on your stress and so that you can optimize and like work with your body instead of trying to fight things.
Yeah. Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then the one other metric I forgot I didn't mention in the email and forgot to that I do particularly like, and there's lots of stuff out there. But for cycle tracking. I am pretty dang impressed with what I've seen over the last year in terms of cycle tracking. So that's one that's again, like, I would not recommend anybody like follow their fertility based on what a ring spits out. But anyways, I've been shocked at the accuracy and timing of the body temperature and cycle tracking, and then that can also help you make decisions and correlations because we probably tell all of our clients, pay attention to your cycle, pay attention to like you're paying attention to what your body weight does over the course of your cycle, you're paying attention to your hunger cues over the course of your cycle, your period symptoms over the course of your cycle. Like there's a lot to pay attention to, and if you can just sort of start to pay attention and map all of that together, like map the cycle, map your hunger cues along that month, map like your mood along that month. It's not going to be exactly the same, but you will start to see trends. um and that's really helpful for like when the scale ticks up and it's not like, why is the scale so high all of a sudden, I'm supposed to be in a deficit. Oh yeah, it's the week before my period, it does this every month. Or whatever the case is. So anyways, that's one. It's one that I've found to be like a shockingly pretty close for me tool. And then just mapping it all. I think mapping it all is really important.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, that is all that I had for today. Those of you that haven't seen, I'm sure you have, but take a gander at your emails. We are getting ready to launch the Goddess of Gains cohort, which is the perfect time of year to do it, moving into holiday season, moving into winter time. It is a great season to focus on putting on muscle. I think it's a fantastic cohort. I love this focus. So take a look at that. Of course, ask us on the app if you have questions on that, but we would love to see you all join that cohort. And then, of course, one-on-one coaching is always here for you as well. So holler if you have questions, and we hope you guys have a great week and happy Halloween.
Yay. Thanks, everyone. Oh, also, new cycle of workout starts next week, too. And I will be going through all the ins and outs of that on Tuesday next week. Lots of exciting things. You'll also get an email about it on Sunday with kind of like new additions and changes. And yeah, and we have a sale upcoming in November, too. So stay tuned for that for one-on-one coaching and workouts. Thanks, ladies. Thanks so much, Griffin.
Yep. Bye-bye.